Hey, what is up? It is Crypto Bobby, and today I have an awesome interview for you. The other day, I got a chance to visit the offices of YouNow in Times Square, right in Manhattan, and got a chance to speak to the CEO of YouNow, which is launching a decentralized video ecosystem application platform that I think is going to be a big deal in the crypto landscape. I'm really excited about personally using it as somebody who's in this, crypto video content world. And there's a couple different things that are pretty awesome and interesting about this company. They have 40 million users right now on the YouNow platform, which is kind of the non-crypto decentralized application. But they have a specific plan to try to move a lot of those users over to the new decentralized version. They have backing from big name companies like Comcast. And then the biggest, most refreshing, I think the most interesting change to it all is that, yes, YouNow is planning an ICO in the future, but when that ICO happens, they're looking to have a product live, functioning, usable to the public on day one so that their tokens actually have true utility and are not just used for speculation purposes and are not just some pipe dream platform. It's going to be a real legit thing on day one. So I don't want to take up much more time. I want to port it over to the interview with Adib because I really enjoyed the opportunity to speak to the CEO of YouNow, and props, and I think you're going to really like what they have to say going forward as well. So let's hop into it.
Is that we are running today a virtual economy already, a virtual economy that is non-crypto. We have 40 million registered users. We have 60,000 transactions today on YouNow. Millions of dollars a month being purchased in our own currency that works only within our app. By moving that community and that economy onto the blockchain, we are completely going after a much bigger opportunity, which is to disrupt the digital media ecosystem itself.
Sure. And from your perspective, with YouNow, and then kind of, I don't want to necessarily call it a transition. I don't know how you would necessarily phrase that, but with the existing YouNow business and then the kind of creation of props and the Rise platform, how is that, I guess, how do you kind of envision that happening? Where is that going to be some type of transition with your user base, or is this going to be almost a brand new thing that's going to run simultaneously with YouNow?
Yeah, so we are focusing our entire company around the new platform.
Awesome.
The new ecosystem. So much so that we are transitioning from being a C-corp to being a B-corp with a stated mission, a public benefit mission, to see the appreciation of the tokens so that we are completely aligned with everybody on the platform.
Sure.
Whether they are content contributor like a Comcast or NBC that contributes programming and gets a value from that in tokens, or a YouTuber that is doing a meet and greet on the platform, or a user who invites 15 of their friends. We know the exact value of how much each new registered user to the platform is worth, and that person should be rewarding for contributing to the platform.
Sure.
Or a developer that uses the code to develop a new use case. For example, reality show or a game show like The Price is Right. On the platform. Long story short, we will no longer be taking the 50% tax cut that platforms like us, like YouTube, like Facebook are taking today from the hands of the people who actually build the network. Mm-hmm. We will be benefiting from the appreciation of the token, just like everybody else who's contributing value to the network, which is a great place to be and totally aligned with everybody who's contributing to this decentralized ecosystem.
Absolutely. And so maybe from an explanation standpoint too, I know we've talked about kind of my YouTube channel before and everybody watching this on the channel right now. So for somebody like myself who's a, whatever you want to call it, a crypto content creator or however you want to phrase it. But for somebody like me and for a lot of the other content creators out there, I guess the two things I'm kind of interested in is how would it, from probably a smaller perspective, how would it benefit me or other content creators out there, moving maybe or running with props simultaneously to, building an audience elsewhere. And then how would it also maybe benefit the people that are actually consuming the content? So the audience that's watching this right now, do you feel like there's two specific maybe benefits, for one for the content creator and then one for just the actual audience who's consuming that content in the future as well?
Yeah, so maybe we start with the audience and then we'll go to the content creators.
That's probably a lot more applicable too.
Well, if
one's a selfish question.
Well, we'll get to it, because you're exactly the kind of user who would benefit from this platform. But if you think about the user behavior in the last 5 to 6 years, TV ratings are going down, down, down.
Yeah.
Where are those eyeballs? They're all on mobile devices, and they're on experiences like Snapchat and like YouTube and like Facebook, and on the mobile devices, it's a new medium. It's a medium with audio, with video. It's a medium of participation. 65% of the users on Snapchat are creating content. If you think about the gaming industry, almost 2 billion gamers on the planet, they are participating in the media they're creating. This is a new behavior. This is a new generation that was born with iPads all around them. They're used to jumping into the screens. They don't want to just, lean in. They are literally jumping into the content. And so Snapchat is just one example, but it's an app.
Yeah.
It's not a platform. What we have built here with this next generation video technology, which I hope we can show everybody at the end of this video, is many-to-many video building blocks to create any kind of participation media. And so, this new generation that does not just want to watch linear, but wants to participate, whether it's a social game, whether it's polling, whether it's trivia, whether it's chatting with friends as they're watching something, whether it's doing karaoke, whether it's participating in The Price is Right, whatever it is that they're doing, now they can participate and do it in a social environment. And so that's a big deal in terms of the users. Now, more than that, everybody who contributes to the network, whether they are a creator like yourself, who commands thousands of viewers, or a developer who may invent, the next user experience on the platform, like one of the examples I just gave, or it's a user who invites a few friends, or gets a bunch of likes, or gives a bunch of likes, or engages others and retains them and comes back regularly. Guess what? They are valuable to the network, and they know that mathematically and algorithmically. And if you look at our white paper, we spell it out exactly how we reward anybody who contributes to the network.
Gotcha.
So we're aligned with them. We want to see them earning prompts, and we want them to help us build this ecosystem to become bigger.
Sure. And one of the, I think, the interesting things that I've seen about props and Rise in particular, and kind of one of the reasons that I was really interested in terms of working with your team in this advisory role here. But one of the big things that I thought was really interesting when I'm looking at new cryptocurrencies or initial coin offerings and things like that is number one, like a distribution model, having an existing company or an existing platform already in the space. And then also, I think a big thing is having users or a potential user base that's actually familiar with spending some type of, that's actually transacting with something. I think a lot of kind of cryptocurrencies might have, or new ICOs or whatever it might be, they're in these industries where that concept doesn't exist, and that's going to be a lot harder of a transition to make. So I think your transition is a lot easier, which is really interesting, since, like you said, there are already users. There's a significant number of transactions already taking place on the YouNow platform. With that being said, from a token standpoint, I know there's going to be at one point in time an initial coin offering, an ICO happening. From the actual props token perspective, what do you envision as like the true utility of the token? How will people be kind of utilizing the token when it comes to interacting on your platform?
Yeah, so the token, first of all, rewards the participants and the contributors to the network. It's a utility token. It also provides status. We identify you as a token holder. It unlocks functionality within the network. It provides you access to special content, subscriptions, etc., etc. And you benefit by holding it from the growth of the network.
Sure.
And potentially the appreciation of the token.
Sure.
And so it is. We're really excited because on the first day that we are bringing the token out to the world, the platform rise will be there on day one. And we haven't seen any kind of consumer product today that on the day of the token launch, there is a product that the token can be used within it.
That's that's funny because I know, I think it's Marco from Cooley,
Yeah.
who they just released I don't know if you saw that, but I'm sure the SFAT, I think it is the new kind of legal framework per se around ICOs, and that's one of the big points of conversation within that is there's all the potential kind of legal issues there, but actually having a product on day one is so, I think, important and so critical in the future. And I think that's somewhere where at least I'm seeing personally, like a lot of companies or a lot of ICOs that are struggling because they'll have an ICO and then there's 6-8 months where everybody's really excited in the first maybe month or so, and then there's no product, nothing's happening. Whereas this actually will, if there's that product on day one, that'll potentially allow for a lot of, the excitement can actually continue and be directed into something other than pure speculation, which is kind of seen outside of the rest of the industry. So that's always, I think that's a really good kind of way to attack the space for sure.
Yeah, and Marco Centauri is one of the founding fathers of the SAFT and the legal construct of cryptocurrency. And we're excited that Cooley and him are advising us, and we're certainly breaking new grounds here, bringing a community of millions on day one when we're releasing the token into this platform.
One thing that I think is interesting, or I have kind of a question around, but from the standpoint of user acquisition, what type of, I guess, strategy or plan do you have in place as far as just gaining platform adoption, and whether it's creators or the actual end user audience? Do you have any thoughts in place now as far as how you're going to go about trying to build that platform up?
Yeah, so first of all, from day one, we will be marketing the platform to our existing user base of 40 million registered users. But more than that, we have a program that we actually announced today, which is called the YouNow Community Program, where every single YouNow user from a certain level and higher will get airdrop some of these new tokens. So we want to make sure that they're incentivized to check out and experience this next generation platform. That's one. And that's loyalty to our existing users, and they're all really excited about that. So there's a lot of grassroots momentum there. The second piece of that is another program called the Social Premium Program. And during our token sale, which will happen later this year, you'll have a KYC, and you'll have the ability to purchase it as a user who identifies yourself. But if you also identify yourself as a social influencer, let's say you have 500 followers on YouTube, or 5,000 followers, or 50,000 followers, based on the number of followers that you have on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, and on Instagram, we will give you bonus tokens, all the way up to 40% bonus tokens, based on how many followers you have. Because in the end of the day, the creators, the people who are actually creating content every day, are our strategic partners. We have people from funds all over the world calling me, asking me, when is the pre-sale? I'm a strategic partner, I want a discount. I'll tell you, a guy with 500,000 or 50,000 or even 10,000 followers on YouTube is much more strategic than any kind of financial investor.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I think that's because when it comes down to it, obviously the people are going to consume the content. If the content isn't there, if there are no, if there's no creators there, then there's really not a ton of value on the platform. But if people in whatever space it might be, if there's a lot of creators on there, they'll be able to bring or help migrate that audience and help to kind of continue the value. So I think that's a really interesting way to approach it. And kind of like that statement too, as far as kind of aligning. I think, like you said, there's a lot more value in having than having maybe one specific strategic investor or a number of very large strategic investors. Obviously, I'm sure there's value there as well. But in addition to that, having people that can end up really increasing the adoption of the overall platform and driving people to it.
Exactly. And speaking of strategic investors, we do have one amazing strategic investor, which is Comcast, which owns NBC and Universal and have all the content in the world, and we're looking forward to that content also being able to attract potentially millions of users.
Yeah, I know, I mean, even to looking at from my perspective, when I was initially looking at props and seeing there's so many things to look at when it comes to a new cryptocurrency or a new ICO and a new platform, and the advisory team, as well as the maybe initial investors and all that type of thing is so important. And seeing that seeing the existing investors that you have, seeing the legal guidance that you have, and all that I think really goes to instill confidence and really kind of prove the legitimacy of it. And I think we'll go to show it a little bit later too, but just kind of being here myself personally, I work not too far away, but seeing the office, seeing the environment that you have here, I think a lot of people, when they think about a cryptocurrency startup, they think there's like two people in Eastern Europe somewhere, coding away in a basement or something like that, and it couldn't be farther from the truth, being in the middle of Times Square right now. So it's funny.
Yeah, well, we're very, very lucky to have this kind of backing, and also Union Square Ventures is one of our investors, and I got exposed to crypto the first time when Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, gave me my first Bitcoin 4 or 5 years ago in one of the USV CEO summits. So we have that influence in our lives. Coupled with the fact that we're running already a virtual economy at scale, the move to crypto was very natural for us.
Sure. And I guess as far as like timing goes, you mentioned it a little bit so far, but from an overall timing perspective, why do you feel like the time is now to move from maybe the existing business to this decentralized type of platform? Do you feel like timing is, I know you mentioned a little bit, do you feel like the time is kind of now as far as that goes for you?
Yeah, and I think that there is a first mover advantage here also, and our approach is a very practical approach, which is, we are going to have actually two currencies within the platform.
Sure.
One is an in-game currency where anybody, 95% of the users, 98% of the users, it's going to be obfuscated that there is even crypto there as well.
Sure.
They're just going to continue to spend as they're spending today. What we do behind the scene is we take that money and we buy tokens in there to keep the market going. Now, when we pay out to the people who contribute to the platform, like yourself, like the users, like the ABCs and NBCs who contribute content, they get paid in tokens. And so if you're getting paid, if you're a kid and you're getting paid $50 a day on the app, you will understand through our simple wallet how to get control of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just a Joe Schmo and you don't need to know about it until you're starting to earn.
Sure.
So it's a very practical approach for us to bring it to the masses, and nobody is doing it. We worked really hard for the past year to build this approach and build the technology around it and build the product around it. And I encourage folks to take a look at the white paper as well. Maybe we can put the link somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely put that link in. And the big thing too is, I mean, at least from my opinion, everything sounds great in theory, but does it actually work? And having seen the beta application and having seen it in action, it's pretty awesome. And I'm excited to personally use it. And I think the big thing for me too is, and I was talking to a couple of guys on your team prior to when I was looking over the application and things like that, is being able, rather than in when I have the YouTube lives, I call it Crypto Happy Hour, and I sit there and I drink whiskey or beer, whatever it is, and I talk to everybody. I read through the comments, I answer the questions, but having the ability to kind of do that, and then also if somebody has a question, I could pull them up on the screen, talk to them, and that'll be broadcasted out to everybody else, and then I can pull them down, I can bring somebody else up to answer questions. And kind of enable, and I could tip people that are asking good questions. They could tip me. There's a lot of different transactional, really cool transactional capabilities there. So I think that's the biggest thing. For everything is all supplementary of how good the product is, and it looks really interesting so far. So I'm excited about that.
Thank you very much. Well, we've built it for folks like you, millennials who want to engage with media.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as things go, that mostly covers what I wanted to talk about in this first conversation. And I think there's a couple of different things that maybe we could walk through from a demo perspective and things like that. But if you guys watching this, if you have specific questions on props, on Rise, I'll link up the white paper below, and I'll link up a lot of this other information here below as well, so you can take a good look and get a really solid understanding of everything that's happening within everything that's going on right now with props. So I think it's something that I'm pretty excited about watching moving into the future. If you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments, and I'll certainly try to to address them as much as possible. But appreciate your time today as well, and it's been awesome.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
for
so
having
much.
me.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
well.